Okay, I'm calling the regular meeting of the Borough of Beach Haven to order at 7 o'clock on September the 10th. And we have the flag salute led by Mr. Maskell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Catskis.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Maxwell.
Here.
Mr. White. Mayor Davis.
Here.
I have a few things to report. We sold a total of $455,950 worth of beach badges this season. It's just about $5,000 more than last year. So that's
Good job.
we also had the same amount of rainy, cloudy, knee-deep days as last year. 4th of July fell on a free beach Wednesday, so considering that, and that we were only down to 5,000 is, that we were up 5,000 is impressive. It's pretty good. I'm going to read Sherry Bowler's finance report. Cash receipts in the current fund account for the period of August 1st to August 31st were $2,969,531.35. Cash disbursement in the current fund account for the month of August totaled $1,734,374.09. The cash balance in the current fund account for this period totaled $11,975,519.01. Cash receipts in the water utility account for August were $114,419.61. Cash disbursement in the water utility account were $360,044. The cash balance in the water utility account as of August 31st was $2,955,474.34. The cash management fund in the current account, current account state of New Jersey, $184,015.51. And the cash management fund water utility account was $14,339.12. Respectfully submitted by Sherry Bowler. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Today, or this coming week, is starting on September the 17th is Constitution Week. And I have a proclamation I'd like to read for Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 91-915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designated September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Nancy Davis, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the Borough of Beach Haven in the state of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution, the ideals of the framers of the Constitution that they had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Borough of Beach Haven to be affixed this 10th day of September of the year of our Lord 2018. Thank you. And it is a very important event in our history, obviously. I know, having been a professor at Stockton, we have a lot of celebrations going on for Constitution Day, and some very good speakers, which I thought I would attend one of the lectures. The person's talking about the Second Amendment, which should be quite interesting. I also want to mention that tomorrow will be the 17th anniversary of 9/11. And I believe it did happen on a Tuesday, as I remember. And I would hope that all of us take a few minutes to remember that awful morning and give thanks to all those that sacrificed their lives, all the firemen and first aid and first responders that went forth and helped people during that horrific day. Let's hope we don't have another one of those. So now we're on to the ordinances.
Okay, we have ordinance 2018-24, an ordinance authorizing the private sale of certain property owned by the Borough of Beach Haven, not required for public purposes pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-21.
This ordinance is the alleyway between this building and the firehouse, which will enable the fire company to expand their facilities. This is the final reading, so the floor is open to public comment, and if anybody would like to make a comment regarding this. No? Therefore, I close the floor, and do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
That was Tom.
Yes.
Mr. Katsas.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, we have ordinance 2018-25C, an ordinance amending Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic, Part 2, Handicap Parking, Article 12, Schedules of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, final reading.
And this just updates the number of handicap parking that we have throughout town. And again, this is final reading. If anybody would like to come forth and speak on this. Therefore, I close the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Katsas?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2018-26C, an ordinance amending Chapter 77, Curfew of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, as it pertains to beaches. This is final reading.
And again, this curfew is set at 9 o'clock. And children or young people under the age of 18 can be on the beach with their parents, or if they're fishing or playing a sport. This really is to deal with the loitering and some of the problems that we're having in town. We're counting on the police to enforce this to help the residents, but not to make it impossible for young people to enjoy the beach. This again is the final reading. This is the final reading, and so I open the floor to public comments. If anybody would like to comment, please come forth and speak.
No, go ahead.
William Burris, 100 Northwest Avenue. There's got to be a better way to do this. I really am uncomfortable with this, and I'm not going to say anything else. I think there needs to be another solution. Thanks.
Would anybody else like to come forth and speak?
What is the time?
9 o'clock. Is that what you asked me?
And presently,
Oh, at midnight. There's a regular curfew,
and
there's
the
already a
town?
curfew.
The curfew's at,
This is really this is basically, we're getting crowds of 100 and more kids up
9th
on
Street, right.
Taylor and 9th Street and so forth. And this is to try to help the people that live down there deal with this. The police have told us that it's very hard to deal with juvenile issues, and the one thing they can enforce is a curfew. I don't like to use the word selectively enforcing because I feel uncomfortable with that also. But they have agreed to make sure that kids that are doing something constructive on the beach can be on the beach, but it's a way to try to keep these huge numbers off the beach.
until 9 o'clock, if that would be the.
At 9 o'clock, they can actually tell people to leave the beach.
Okay, I live at the end of the beach.
I know you do.
Where I am.
I'm sorry to
I don't have a
interrupt.
problem.
Yeah, you need to come forward and,
Thank you.
okay, state your name and address and.
Cookie Messick, aka Virginia, 19 6th Street, Beach Haven. Recently this summer, there was, and I thought the curfew throughout town was 11 for 18.
It's midnight.
Midnight. But on the beach, I was witness to an incident that could very well have been a sexual attack on a kid. And it would have been probably about 11:30ish and reported to the police, which incidentally, when I called 911, I was told that there was no 6th Street. And I didn't call 911, I called 0505 thinking that would be better. And they said that after spending a lot of time on the phone with me as this whole thing was going on, said that there was no 6th Street in Beach Haven. And I said, oh yeah, well, I'm standing here. And the police did come and things, you know, I don't know what the resolution was, but it was not. But it's because of the hour. There are always, Center Street is awful because they come on the buses and congregate there. You know, I have some friends that live on that street and I know, you know, what they encounter. And I'm all for the kids having a good time, but as a teenager myself at one time, that time is fine for being on the beach that you're proposing.
Okay, thank you. Jim, I do want to mention also that we did talk about this at the agenda meeting on last Wednesday, and some of the residents from that part of town were here, and we did say that we would form a committee to look at this, and you were going to appoint somebody from the police force to meet with a couple of the residents, and you were going to be the council representative, Tom
Jim
Lynch.
and I are talking
Okay.
about a meeting that possibly could occur next week with a couple of people to come up with some ideas and thoughts and, you know, report back, but we'll come up with some ideas.
Right. I mean, I know there's mixed feelings about this, but it is a huge issue that we need to solve in this town. I mean, people that live on the street ends are really having major problems. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this at this point?
If there's no public comment, I'd like to comment on this, Nancy.
Yes.
I have great empathy for the people on that street. I really do. I mean, we've had similar problems when we were at the pavilion on 5th Street, which is 100 feet from my house. And the only thing, getting back to Mr. Burris's comment, I think it really needs to be a three-pronged approach. It can't be just dealing with it one way. I really think we have to find a place for kids to go. Okay, it went at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. And the one approach that we've been talking about at council is keeping Butler Park open until 11 o'clock. And I think that area can be controlled, it's monitored by the police. I've been out there at 9 o'clock and I've seen police there, you know, monitoring that area. So I think Butler Park, that's one thing that needs to be done. The second thing is, I really am glad to hear that Jim and White and the chief is looking at current practices, because we do have on the books right now a loitering law, which really addresses some of the problems here, which basically says that if there's a teenager that is loitering and he does not respond to the police can contact that person's parents, and the person's parents are, you know, if they come back within the next 30 days and they're found to be loitering again, if I read the loitering law that Beach Haven has in effect, they can be asked to come before the judge and be held accountable for their child's behavior. So I'm hoping that two, that we increase the police service, that we look to enforce the laws that are in existence right now for loitering on the beach. I don't know how many summonses have been given to teenagers. I don't know if any have. But if the problem's this bad, we should be issuing summonses to those teenagers in accordance with the law that we have in effect. The third thing is, I have no problem with setting a time limit, but I think the time limit should be 10 o'clock, not 9. And the reason I say this is I've asked, and the feedback I've gotten is that 10 o'clock closings are enforced at Wildwood, Atlantic City, Margate, Venter, North Wildwood, Seaside Heights, and Avalon. And we've received emails and say, why don't we do it with Avalon's doing it? Fine, let's make it 10 o'clock, not make it 9 o'clock. I don't think the problems that we have in Beach Haven are as bad as Seaside Heights or as bad as Wildwood. And I think if we do a three-pronged approach, I think we could live with the 10 o'clock, and that still gives the police department a tool to use to enforce the ordinance. So I'm going to vote no tonight on this ordinance because I think it should be 10 and not 9. But I really think that we need to hear back from the police department on what changes and procedures that they're going to use to enforce what's going on right now, because we do have a loitering thing. And we should be doing something today without just restricting beaches. We have to get the problem off the streets, not just off the beach, but off the streets, and find a place for the kids to go. So that's my stand on this.
I tend to agree, and I'll probably vote no too, because I made a motion last time to table this until we could come up with some better solutions. I think we have the winter to figure this out, but we need to have something strong in place by next summer. That's how I feel. Anybody else want to speak? Council, board, audience? Okay, so I close the floor, and do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? No second? Okay. I guess there's no second, so I don't know what that means. I've never had that
Make a
happen.
motion to table it, or?
I would
vote to table.
I would move to table. That's good. Okay, so we're moving to table this, and the committee will meet.
Yep. Make a motion to table.
Okay, I'm making a motion to table this particular.
Second.
Mr. Taxis?
Yep.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes. All right, next one.
Okay, we have ordinance 2018-27C, an ordinance supplementing chapter 199, vehicles and traffic of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, 2000, in order to regulate parking for electric vehicles. This is final reading.
We have a couple spots for electric vehicles, and we need to make sure that electrical vehicles can actually get there and charge their vehicles and not have anybody else parking there. So that's what this is all about. And this is final adoption. Is there anybody in the public that would like to come forward and speak to this?
William Burris again. There's a parking space in front of the Gables, and Steve Beninati has his own charging station there.
That's correct.
I assume that's not affected by this ordinance, and he can
No.
still... Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, is there a motion? I close the floor to public comment. Is there a motion to approve this?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Taxis?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
We have ordinance 2018-28C, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 212, zoning of the code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, adding new subsection 212-28A, placement of small cell equipment and telecommunication facilities.
I'm a little confused. I thought you said Bruce was tweaking this.
This is the one, Sherry just sent it over to me with revisions from the Land Use Board.
I read those revisions.
Yes, I put the ordinance in front of everybody here. We were going to reintroduce this ordinance with the changes.
Okay, well, on here it says it's final
On
reading.
the agenda, because this happened between the.
Okay, okay, so you didn't get, okay, so this is first reading then?
This will be. first
Okay,
reading.
so this is basically, okay, so this is the situation where Verizon has wanted to come in and put some poles in the residential zone, which we don't really want with boxes on them, and this did go to land use board, and there were some comments, and we had passed this, but we're making some changes, that's it. So this is first reading then, so is there a motion to approve?
Motion to go first reading.
Second?
Mr. Katsas.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Okay, 2018-30 bond ordinance, I'm sorry, I skipped 29. 2018-29 bond ordinance authorizing drainage and water pump improvements by the water utility in and for the Borough of Beach Haven in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, appropriating $3 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3 million bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. This is for the pumping stations, it's final reading.
Again, we're actually having a meeting, Dawn and I, with somebody who's an expert in this area on Wednesday. He's done a lot of the work in Ocean City, and I think the guy from Ocean City is going to be there meeting with us to talk about the benefits as well as the problems associated with this and what's worked and not worked for them. We're bonding this out for $3 million, but again, we talked about this on last Wednesday, that we're hoping that we only are going to be paying about $500,000 of the $3 million. We know there's grant money out there which we ought to be able to get. The freeholders, the county freeholders have more or less said that they were going to pay for a portion of it, and by the time our share comes in, we're hoping it will be no more than 500, a half of $1 million. So anyway, this is.
Let me just add some comments
go
on
ahead.
that. On Wednesday, it's not going to just be Nancy and myself. It's going to be the firm called Baker International. Baker International has installed all the pumping stations in Ocean City. They've done 2 phases. They've done a project 3 years ago. They're putting the second project in today. They were also doing a similar type project with 9 pumping stations in Wildwood. So we're going to be with them, and Frank Little's going to join us too, because Frank has all the elevations on our property and the bay levels and so forth. And there'll be a lot of discussion in terms of lessons learned, what did they learn, how our elevations impact the design. The same thing with the size of the pumps, how fast do we want the pumps to drain down the streets, etc. So this is really the first initial. We haven't designed it, we've had the elevations. Frank has some thoughts in mind, but we're going to try and take lessons learned. And we may or may not incorporate Baker International into the design efforts of Frank's. So we're hoping that we get this approved and we can move ahead with this, because I've sat down with them and hopefully they've had films and showed how it was before, how it was after. They said it works, and the community down there is pleased with what's happened. So we'll give you more feedback on this as we move along on this project. But it's probably, once approved, it's going to be 16 to 24 months before it's fully implemented. It's 6,000 linear feet of piping that has to be replaced. Those pipes are 80 years old, the drainage system. Backflow preventers to prevent the water from coming up through the source, onto the sidewalk, onto the streets and Bay Boulevard. And hopefully it'll be a positive impact, not only on the businesses in Bay Boulevard, but also the homes that are west of Bay Boulevard, in terms of reducing the amount of flooding that would happen there. So that's where it stands right now.
That's great. Basically, this should help with nuisance flooding. It's not going to help with another Sandy.
Yeah, this is nuisance flooding. This is the high tides that essentially are, the boulevard, the difference between the boulevard and the outflows on the bay are a foot. So, you get a tide that we had a couple of weeks ago that was 2.5 full. The bay is essentially flooding the streets.
And the township is going to be putting some pumping stations in as well.
So
There's only
hopefully-
one on the island right now.
So hopefully they'll be giving us some relief. And again, it's nuisance flooding. Once it comes over the bulkhead, we have a hurricane, it comes over the bulkhead, there's nothing that's gonna stop us, okay?
Okay, well, this is final reading, and so I open the floor to public comment. Please feel free to come up, comment. Just wait a second, you're next.
Scott Cunningham, 6th Street. It's a good idea, it's not gonna work. I mean, the flooding factor. And if we're going to go ahead with this, when they give us the money, then we should, at that point, move forward, because the town is $21 million in debt, and I don't think we should be adding another $3 million to our borough debt. I mean, we're at 21, that's 24 million in debt we are at this point, and are we gonna get the money back? We don't know this. If they do give us the funds, go ahead with it. I don't think, like an engineer told me last week, go down at low tide to the beach and build a castle, then rip out one side of it, and when the tide comes in, try to pump the water out. He goes, it's not gonna work. Sounds good, but 20% grass to absorb water might work better. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cunningham, I want to ask, Mr. Cunningham,
Yeah.
I want to answer a question that you brought up last week about the money. If we were to get the money and the grant, we would have to use the money for that grant only.
That would be a good thing.
No, you had mentioned last week about using the money for other things, like a garage type of thing.
Oh, I can spend our money, believe
Well, I'm
me.
sure you can, we all can spend money.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just to clarify that issue, that if we get a grant for X dollars, it's for that project.
Exactly, and I'm totally for that, and every penny
No, you
should
mentioned
go
this
to,
time.
yeah,
Using it for other
and then I went on to, if we want to spend money, I could help us spend money.
Okay.
I do believe that building a borough garage to get all of our equipment out of the water and the salt air would be a better way to spend our money than to pump water into the bay. Thank you very much.
Just 2 comments to you, Mr. Cunningham. First of all, the company we're meeting with, Baker International, is controlling the state funding of these projects, so we should have a pretty quick answer when we meet with them on Wednesday. And my initial discussions with them were very positive. So hopefully, they are controlling the state funding. They'll give us a pretty clear indication as to whether we're going to get the money or not.
That's a good thing. I still
The
think,
second thing is that it does work, and it has worked. Now, whether it worked in Beach Haven, we'll get a better answer from them when they look at the elevations. The third thing is, there is budgeted, and there is a new borough garage being built next year.
I understand that. You weren't here at the agenda meeting, and I brought it up, that Ocean City has 100% bulkhead on the bay side. We do not. So we're going to be pumping water in, and Jimmy's Creek, that was 8th Street, that came up to the pond up there before the school was built in 1912. And what it is, that's why that's the lowest part of town. And then the only way you're going to beat this is to raise the boulevard and to raise the sidewalks and the curbs and the homes, because that's a very low, you can pump all you want there. The water's not going to go away. I've been on 6th Street for 60 years, I've watched it all my life. Have a good day, thank you.
Thank you. By the way, one last comment. The borough is in the best financial shape it's been since 2012. We talk about finances, our surplus has gone from $1.5 million in 2012 to over $6 million this year. The surplus in the water utility account is again up to about over $2 million. So we have made dramatic improvements in terms of the financial condition of this town over the last 4 years. So we are doing our best to spend the money judiciously.
One other thing too, you had mentioned about paying down the debt. This year we began to pay down the debt more than what normally would be.
I'm all for it.
I just want to clarify that.
Here, just for you folks, I have it here, this is Surf City, $3.5 million surplus this year. Should buy with $1 million surplus on their thing, if you want to take a quick look at that.
But we have begun to pay down a lot of the debt.
I mean, there's a big difference between them making a $3 million surplus and we're going to 25 million in debt. There's a big difference.
I don't think we're going to 25 million.
We're
when
at
I talk
21
to them.
million bonding at this moment in time, sir. If we take
I was
the
told
3
today
million
by-
bond, that puts it 24
I was
without
told
the
by the
bond.
financial people that we do not have that much. And they told me somewhere around 16 to 17 million. And then of that, 5 million will be reduced because of the borough building. Now, there may be more coming on with that. So that's the information I got from the controller today.
This is
16
what I
to 17
understand.
million.
Maybe we need to check all the numbers.
Well, that's what she told me on the phone today when I called her. And said that 5 million of that will come down as the borough hall.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Colleen, no, we have more public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Colin.
Good evening, Colleen Lambert, 115 8th Street. I just have a couple questions. Is this something that'll work unilaterally in Beach Haven if the rest of the island towns don't?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Colin.
Yes, it will work unilaterally, but we are doing it, and we have been discussions with Mancini and Frank Little, who also represents the town. And their plans are to go ahead and do similar type of projects. Now, it will, you know, are we gonna be an island, you know, with less nuisance flooding than some other towns? Yes. None of this work, I don't know whether anything's being done in Holgate or anything. I don't know exactly what the plans are in Long Beach Township, other than Mancini is planning to do similar type of projects.
I just thought I heard something at a previous meeting about trying to get the whole island on board because that would make it very effective. So that's why I was just wondering if it would be effective if Beach Haven alone was.
And, you know, and again, this 3 million may be the first. This is really gonna cover us from 12th Street to Coral, I think.
And that's, I'm sorry.
And it won't, you know, it may be another project, and we're not covering Ocean and the town, the streets that are south of there. So, you know, maybe another project would be worthwhile pursuing, just like Ocean City did, and do it in phases, you know, to address the worst part of the town first. And let's see how it works. And if it doesn't, you know, if it works well, then we may look at doing more projects elsewhere in town.
So is the location then still up for grabs depending upon your meeting Wednesday or?
Location probably is not. I mean, Frank has already identified, he's did a study in 2016, he looked at all the elevations, he looked at all the outflows, he looked at all the condition of the storm drains, the age of them, how they've been really a jigsaw of a puzzle in terms of what's been done to them. Sort of hodgepodge, and, you know, the sense is that the greatest impact would be occurred between 12th Street and Coral.
Okay, but you don't have the specific locations yet?
Oh, we do, the pumping
yeah.
stations, yeah.
Okay. And then you'll be,
And I don't have it at my fingertips,
Okay,
but
that's right.
I can get, you know.
that's right.
I think it was in the paper the other day.
I thought you mentioned it before, that's
Hold on
why.
a second.
There was an article in the paper.
Streets were 7th, 10th, and Pearl Street.
Thank you.
This is where the pumping stations go.
Okay,
But again, they haven't been sized yet either.
okay, thank you.
All right?
Lee Burris. My understanding is this system is a combination of backflow and systems that will pump the water faster than it can flow back in. And if that's the case, that's a great program. It sounds good. And we need to do something because there are terrible areas. But I question the location. 2nd Street, to me, 7th is bad, 2nd Street is probably equally as bad. And they should just take a look at 2nd Street because that's right outside of where Morrison's shop is, where they sell the marine supplies. That's really a bad area right there. Dock Road is different. Dock Road's high. So we're fine over toward the well and on the Dock Road. But that whole 2nd Street area at Pennsylvania Avenue is really a bad spot.
Yeah, and again, when Frank looked at the system and the drainage system, it's not just the streets that were mentioned with pumping stations, it's how the water will be funneled to those pumping stations, so it should impact 2nd Street and Dock Road also.
Along with the backflow that's going to be installed
Yes.
everywhere. So
Yes.
I think we get to this sooner than later. That would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, good idea.
Any other public comment? Okay, I close the floor to public comment. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Mr. Texas?
yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Okay, 2018-30, bond ordinance authorizing various capital improvements and acquisitions in and for the Borough of Beach Haven in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, appropriating $1,600,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,133,000 bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. First reading.
This is a first reading, so there's no public discussion. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Katsas.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
2018-31, capital ordinance of the Borough of Beach Haven and the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing various water system improvements by and for the borough and appropriating therefore the sum of $350,000 from the Water Capital Improvement Fund of the Borough of Beach Haven. First reading.
Motion to approve 31.
Second.
Mr. Katsas.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes. We're now moving on to resolutions, but you need to make a phone call, correct? So we'll have a 2-minute recess. We have a motion for a 2 minutes, so is anybody,
Second.
okay, everybody's in favor?
2-minute break, okay.
Thank you.
Motion to resume, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, so we're now on to resolutions.
Okay, I wanted to check my notes, and I made an error. We had a motion on the table, and no one seconded it for ordinance
It was for the
26C.
Right.
So that motion dies.
Right.
So
We didn't table it.
We tabled, it is null and void.
I thought that was the case. I didn't think that was correct.
So it needs to be
I wasn't sure,
reconsidered.
that's why I asked you. So,
Yes, so I apologize, that was my error, but that ordinance now is.
right, so it's not tabled.
It's not
We'll have to
tabled.
come up with a new resolution.
Correct, yes.
After this committee meets, right?
Okay, moving on. Resolutions within consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. And any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Is there anybody that wants to remove anything?
No.
215-2018, resolution of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, rejecting all bids received for the 2017 William Butler Park Annex Reconstruction Project, Phase 3, for sidewalks. 216, returning the piling bonds. 217, authorizing return of park bond to Beach Haven Chamber, Pam Tulo, and Andrea Jones. 218, authorizing the release of a curb and sidewalk bond to Walters Residential LLC. 221, a resolution authorizing the Borough of Beach Haven to advertise for bids for the construction of a new public works garage. 222, resolution amending Resolution 206-2018, park bond return for David Brothers Cross Camp. 223, authorizing the submission of raffle applications 12 and 13 for the LBI PTA, School District PTA. 224, returning remaining permit fees for Carl Herkner.
All right, do we have a motion to approve these resolutions?
Make a motion to approve the resolutions.
Second.
Mr. Katsas?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes. Now we have the bills.
We have bills totaling for this month $708,047.15. Wow, that's a low bill.
Yeah. I've had a chance to review the bills and would like to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Katsas?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yes. All right, now I open the floor to public comment.
William Barris and my counsel, Sophia Ferris. You can do Sophia.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Sophia Ferris, and I'm the attorney for Bird and Betty's LLC, who is the applicant for a transfer of a liquor license at 529 Dock Road in the current premises known as The Catch. That liquor license application transfer is something that was advertised by the applicant and for a hearing this evening. It's not currently on the agenda, as we would like to carry it forward to the next agenda meeting before Town Council. Here this evening is William Burris, who is a member of Bird and Betty's LLC on that transfer, who can speak further to that and also answer any questions that the Town Council may have.
We would like to do that as well with no further notice or publication requirements. And I understand there's been no objection to the transfer of the license that's been filed with the board. We'd just like it carried to the next part of the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to come up and speak? All right, I close the floor to public comments. Are there any final remarks? Start with, okay, Chuck. Go ahead, Chuck.
No comments tonight, thank you. Just two. Obviously, as we talked, tomorrow's 9/11, and a very tough day in the United States. So everybody can remember, I lost some friends in New York on that day. So I'd like everybody just to have a moment, think about it, because it was a very tragic day in the United States. The second thing I wanted to bring up is the weather watch. Obviously, we all should be tuned to that TV, because that hurricane was sitting out there, Florence, supposedly at this moment, it's supposed to come into Raleigh, North Carolina. Obviously, as we know, hurricanes, you can't be sure it's going to go north or south from that, so I would make sure everybody's fully aware of where that's going. We're probably going to get rain from that. How much rain, I can't tell you right now, but I would warn you just to be aware that no one get caught into a problem. Be sure you have all your food, clothing, everything you need, medications, things like that. Because it could be a problem, it may not be a problem. Please be aware of that. But I think it's very important that we all speak that now, and whatever happens, let's be sure we're aware of it. Let's be sure we're prepared. That's all I have.
We've had a lot of discussion since I've been in office, and most recently about the need for public parking. Personally, I think that's a responsibility of the municipality. Before I leave office, I've got at least 3 or 4 ideas that I'd like to present to council, either at this month or next month, that addresses our opportunities for us to provide for additional parking at key locations in town. And whether this gets addressed with this existing council or with the future council, I'd like to get those ideas out on the table so people to consider them. Probably we'll be doing this probably at the next agenda meeting or shortly thereafter. But, the lack of parking, the municipalities have to do it. I really do so. And any additional municipal parking has to be paid parking, where the funds from that parking pay for the cost of that parking and the installation of that parking. But there are opportunities, and I think we just need to think a little bit out of the box and get some compromise from concerned parties. That's it.
I'd like to piggyback on Don's comment. The electric company is going to be selling their property at the end of 2nd Street. I've talked to the man that Ken Mosca is his name, who's our liaison. We need to get 3 appraisals, and the way they sell it, the way they determine the buyer is for the price, but also the best use of the property. And this would be a great place for parking. Today I talked to our liaison at the DEP, because if we were to use this for parking, I wanted to be sure if we could get Green Acres money to pay for half of it, possibly. And she said we could. There was also something called Blue Acres, but unfortunately we can't use that because there has to be buildings on the property that have to be torn down in order to create the space. But we certainly could use this as a combination parking lot and park sort of setting similar to what we have in front of the school, where we'd have park area and benches and parking for people and pervious land, so that it would decrease the runoff in that area. Right now, we are eligible to get maybe up to 25% of the money through Green Acres, because we are a Green Acre community. But if we start taxing for Green Acres, we can get up to 50% of the money, which is a lot. This vote is on the ballot in November. I urge you to vote for this. As I've said before, it would increase your taxes, but $1 million house would pay about $100 more a year in taxes. A house appraised at $1 million. And this is like a dinner out. And you'd be doing so much for your town by voting for this and enabling us to have the money to buy that kind of property, to keep it open as green space, and to be able to utilize this parking, and to have areas where we have more permeable land. And this is a good bit of area, go look at it. So I urge you to talk to your friends and people you know that vote down here, and urge them to vote yes on this Green Acres bill. Not only will we be able to get up to 50%, and they are going to be putting out, by the end of the year, another big lump of money to procure these Green Acres. So that greatly increases our chances of getting this property. And also the money that is collected through the taxes would go to help procure this property, but it also enables us to improve the properties we have. So it's a really tremendous benefit for the town. The township passed it last year. Barnegat Light has had it for quite a number of years. They were able to buy their Coast Guard station, that property down there, because they had about $700,000 in their Green Acres funds. We really could use this in Beach Haven. It would greatly enhance this town. So please push for this. Thank you. By the way, that hurricane's heading right for a piece of property I own, exactly.
Just one comment, Nancy. I hadn't heard about Atlantic City. Frank, we've been looking at that property for 2 years and trying to get them to free it up for us, but that is an ideal location. In the center of town, right off of Main Street, and if we can do that, it'd be great. And the only other thing is, to lay any fares, any parking we would do would be a combination of parking as well as landscaping. So, I mean, again, my experience at Johnson & Johnson is where we put parking in, you put berms in, grass berms, shrubs, and trees to hide that parking. So it provides a great parking location if we can get it.
Thank you. The floor is closed, Bill, but you can talk to...
You made a significant public announcement just now.
I did.
After we closed public hearing, why can't we have a little discussion about this Atlantic Electric property? We've been talking about this for 3 years.
Well,
I've told everybody this property's available, and they're not doing anything with it. Now, suddenly, it's for sale. Why don't we discuss it for a few minutes?
well, why can't we discuss it? You wanted to...
Why don't we discuss it afterwards?
Yeah, I think...
Okay, my only point is,
Well, let's-
you have the ability, right now, you want to take appraisals. That property is in our district that can be really subject to your existing affordable housing overlay. We don't want that. Exactly, we don't want it. We don't want it, but it's there, that's where it is.
Well, that's
It needs
beside...
to be
Well, I'm
changed.
closing the floor now. If the floor is closed, we can talk about this
I
later.
think you need to restrict this to a parking lot, and that way the value is going to be lower and we can afford it. This should not be available for affordable. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.